This is my work about the Deaconess movement of Kaiserswerth, Germany, and the red rose represents resurrection, and the books represent education in nursing. It was the Deaconess that brought education of how to do nursing across the globe starting in the year 1855. And it all began from a pastor by the name of Theodor Fliedner. And this is his picture right there. His wife, Carolina, and his other wife, Frederica, also taught Florence Nightingale in about the year 1850. And as these nurses traveled the world, they became something called the Deaconess movement, and this is their symbol, and this is their nursing pin. Now, I don't own that. That was a picture taken at the Museum of Nursing there in Kaiserswerth, Germany. And I have put some of my nursing pins. Every time a nurse graduates from a school, we have, it's my associate degree nursing pin from Parkland College in 1990, and my honors pin, and my bachelor's, and I do have a master's now. This was a master's project that I did of looking into the history of nursing. And basically what had happened is that everybody in the village in Kaiserswerth, all the men were dying off because the industrial era was too hard, too difficult. So Theodore went to a prayer meeting in Herrnhut, Germany, or Herrnhut, Germany, which is in East Germany, and that prayer meeting went from 110 years, 24/7. And people went to different countries, and the Holy Spirit would give them downloads about what to do. And he was so desperate, and he got a download. And it was basically, he learned about Phoebe. And so Theodore took that knowledge of Phoebe, who was a Roman matroness, who financed Paul's ministry and brought the book of Romans to the church, and gave that information to his congregation. And Gertrude says, well, I will rise up and be a Phoebe of this age, and I will teach the women how to practice medicine because my dad's taught me since the age of 3. So Gertrude did that, and Theodore taught the women theology, which was very scandalous in the Prussian Empire. Not only that, he also had to pull a few out of human trafficking because of the poverty, and some of his works, he writes, they took the harlot and made her holy again. I think that's sweet because they did anti-human trafficking. They did prison reform. You can find a lot of this information in Kreutzker and Nolte's work. This is an amazing book about this story. But beyond that, their work even comes into this time and day. And the concept is called transnational education of nursing. Their concept came to Pittsburgh in the 1800s, and then the concept also came to St. Louis, and in 2005 DeVry bought the Deaconess College of Nursing and changed it into Chamberlain University. This is the provost of Chamberlain, Carla Sanderson. I got to tell her this story. I had graduated with my MSN from them and also my bachelor's completion degree. Had been a nurse for 27 years prior to that. And so I wanted to, I asked the Lord, I said, tell me what the origin of nursing really is so that I can carry this gift that you've given me as to be a nurse in my heart even better. So he disclosed to me this whole thing about Kaiserswerth, and now I'm sharing it with you. This is the first graduating class from St. Louis, and this brochure is kept in Kaiserswerth. And the school in Germany is called the Mother House, and it closed for a while and it just opened back up in 2010. But the Mother House is now a hotel, and you can stay there. I thought, what a gift from the Lord to be able to stay in a legacy place. The school in St. Louis, the Mother House, looked like this. And it was funny because I did go to Bible College in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and discovered that Carlson Hall, the dormitory there, used to also be a Deaconess hospital. And you might have heard of Deaconess hospitals throughout time. This is the Deaconess in before they went to different countries. The Deaconesses in 1912, and I stood amongst the same fountain, and you can see the resurrection being displayed in the red roses. So they are all buried together in a common cemetery in Kaiserswerth. And let's see, Theodor Fliedner is also buried amongst them, along with his 2 wives. This is a definition of the art and science of nursing by the NCSBN. Let's see if I can turn this page here. Let's see here, I can open up some things. Oh yes. This is as they are marching to go to the globe. So as the German migrants came to America, some of the mayors, like the mayor of St. Louis, said, look, we're getting sick here. We need some of those Kaiserswerth nurses. And so they didn't necessarily send the nurses to St. Louis, but the concept did come to that area. The lead researcher of Kaiserswerth is Dr. Norbert Friedrich. He took me over to the grave sites, and my husband caught this ray of light coming from the sky and over me as Dr. Norbert was explaining to me the history. I thought that was really cute. It was like God joining the story per se. I want to, let me see if I can close this for a second. Okay, so that ray of light continued to come over some of the names of the folks that went all over the world. This is how nursing came to its modern practice, was these gals. This is Phoebe. As Theodore was praying, I said he got that download about Phoebe, and he brought back the apostolic age of healthcare. That's what his claim was in his writings. I sat in the cemetery and I said, I'm going to just kind of make a hole and just bury my prayer in that soil of my calling to be a nurse. I have to pause a little bit because it is important to me. This is the village of Herrnhut where he prayed. And you know what was funny? I prayed there in 2010. I sat amongst the women who had gone all over the world to deliver the gospel. And that prayer meeting lasted, I said, for 110 years, 24/7. And many of these people went to Tibet. They went to the Native Americans in the 1700s. And Theodore offered to give his ministry in conjunction with them. So, okay. Theodore's gravesite. It is right here, and there's a park bench in front of it that says, sit here for a blessing, along with some graffiti, of course. So I sat down. There are red roses planted all over the cemetery. Here's some leaves from the cemetery. These are the same leaves that are also in the same kind of tree leaf that's in Herrnhut. This is the graves in Herrnhut, Germany, of some of the women there who went all over the world. They were the first, they were women ministers who were leaders in ministry. And these are the descendants of their prayers. And I'm a descendant of their prayers. And I've been over the world doing nursing and teaching nursing in some kind of medical clinics and things. So I feel like I've kind of been part of the draft, a holy draft of calling there. Okay, so there's me standing in the cemetery there. There's Theodore's grave, and there's that ray of light that was there. And the wind blew too, just over us as we just sat and prayed. It's like almost like the Holy Spirit just made the presence of the Lord just known, So the symbol of the Moravians is the lamb. May the lamb be worthy of his suffering. And the symbol of the Deaconess is the dove. It's very close in relationship. Theodore fashioned his cemetery with the same design as the Herrnhut one. So that's my first nursing picture, and as I came out of the legacy of some of the Catholic nurses in Champaign, Illinois. I'm not Catholic, but this is the hospital that I used to work for, which has now fallen prey to profit-driven hospitals unfortunately. But from many years, at least 200 years, it was a hospital known to be from the Lord, and went through COVID as an ICU nurse for a while. Kind of saw like this is a painting that's famous, but they turned it into a COVID painting. This was a book that inspired me, and I read that a lot as a kid, not realizing what I was going to become, right? But more of a story of Theodore. And I got to stand where Florence stood. Florence Nightingale attended this school, and she influenced Theodore to say, the school needs to be not just skill, it needs to be theory in the classroom. So they made it more robust and invented modern nursing. As I was walking the streets of Kaiserswerth, we had gone out for supper. That's what all of these photographs are. I felt in my spirit that I should look left, and I grabbed my camera and I said, whatever it is that's on the left side of me, I'm going to take that picture. And we walked down that street under the unction of the Holy Spirit, and sure enough, that's where Florence Nightingale stayed when she studied nursing. So, and you know, it's kind of how Theodore saw it. You know, this king was Jesus, right? And there's the wife standing there. It's a painting that's in the museum there. And in this little pocket here, I have the history of the town. And so we'll move forward. All right. So this is the uniform of the Deaconess back then. And I thought this was cute because it had a more modern pen along with the cat in the picture. That was really silly of them. I said, I'm going to stand where Florence stood, and I'm going to dig a hole in the ground and bury my troubles. And I did. It was kind of fun. So here's more of the Mother House. It's now called the Hotel Mother House. It's about 10 minutes from the Dusseldorf airport. Very good as far as hospitality is concerned. So even if you're not a nurse and you want to stay somewhere and you're flying through Europe, it's a good place to stay. This is one of their brochures. And this is what our hotel room looked like. And we had a good buffet. And got to tour the Museum of Nursing, which is nearby. And that was the breakfast. Very nice. Oh yes, I like what I did here. I put the little doors. You can open them up, and anybody who went out that door walked into the legacy of nursing globally. Very important to know. So there's the main street, and I did acquire a job as a nursing professor, and I was a simulation professor for a while. I realized that nursing is like a sacred baton. Not everybody does. Some people are in it for profit now, and that's very sad. And but I was able to hand that baton off to the provost of a university, and she retired. So hopefully we've done our work to contribute to the overall calling of God to heal the sick through nursing. And this is the archivist, and he can give you a tour of the history of modern nursing. There's that painting again. And so there's that. And then nursing, as I said, is an art and a science. And let's see here, this is the Deaconess Innovated Modern Nursing Practice. I believe that nursing is a holy act of worship to a holy God, and that human beings are the image of God made manifest to humankind, and it's called the Imago Dei. So as the nurse takes care of the patient, that patient sees what God would do, and the nurse looks at the patient and sees that that's the image of God. So when the two come together, that is the sacred act of nursing, called, as I said, the Imago Dei. So go forward here. So this is the fold out of the front of their chapel that's connected to the mother house. And the deacon and I do have videos online, but this is their first. It says the deaconess work is in a general sense, is ministry or service in maintaining the works of mercy under the supervision and connection with the church. The female deaconate is used to designate the work when it is carried on by women for their life work, and these are called the deaconess. So, as I said, they went out through all the earth, and they gave this concept of nursing, which is, it's called a transcultural phenomenon. It's a concept that goes from time to time, and they were able to communicate it cross-culturally to make a lasting science and art together. So when you think about the art of the Notre Dame, when they restored that cathedral that burned down, you think of the cathedral as being a burn patient, and you have to have science and knowledge as the artist, the restorer, to bring that castle or that cathedral back to its original state. And the artist needed to know where to put the hammer, and that's the physics behind design, just like a nurse doing healthcare. And there's a lot of work that goes into becoming a nurse. It's a very sacred act. It needs to be honored, not taken advantage of. And I feel that nursing education really needs to understand this work, and hopefully we can continue to bring it forward globally. Thank you for watching.